Hello and welcome to the third part. After we have edited all the images of our time-lapse, we need a program which allows us to convert those images into a video. I will show you how you can do this by using freeware and how you can edit videos in general. While recording, I realized that the video got much longer as I intended, and so I divided it in part 3a and part 3b, which I will upload shortly after another, so you don't have to wait, just because I think it's too much all at once. As software, I have chosen Blender, which is actually an application for 3D modeling, but it also contains a video editor. Of course, there's much more extensive software out there, so if you want to apply effects to lots of video strips, or if you want to create some fancy animations, you probably want to look for a different solution like After Effects, which is very expensive. But you can also create some nice videos by using Blender. You don't even have to install it, you can just unzip it. And it's free of charge, so give it a try and let's get started. To download Blender, just go to the website, link is in the video description. And here you can download the latest version of Blender by just clicking on this button. Choose your operating system and either installer or zip. If you choose installer, you have to install it like every other application. But if you use zip, and that's what I will do, you can just unzip it. And choose a server to download it. After you have installed or unzipped Blender, just go into the folder and then open Blender, not Blender Player. So this is the welcome screen of Blender, and you can remove this by just left-clicking somewhere. And let's also maximize the window. So I know this looks very complicated, but this is actually the surface for 3D modeling, but we want to go to video editing. So let's change this by clicking on this button and then go to video editing. So let me give you a short introduction. The first window is a curve editor, that's for animation. This one is a preview of our video. And down here we have a timeline, and that's where we put our images, our videos, and also our audio tracks. And there's actually one window missing we will need. And let me show you how you can add and remove windows. You can do this by going to the corner, and you see there is this little button. And you have this in every corner of every window. And if you click and drag this to the left, you see I duplicated this window, and you can change every window into every other window type by clicking on this button, and then you can change the type of the window. And you can do this with every other window. You can also remove those windows by clicking again on this little button, but this time drag to the right. And you see it gets gray and the arrow indicates which window will be closed. So you could also keep holding your left mouse button and go to the left. And now you see this area is gray, which means this window would be closed. But I want to close this one. Okay, I showed you this because I want to drag out a new window here. And I want to change it by clicking onto this button. And then change it to properties, because we will need those. And we need this window, for example, to set up our resolution or our frame rate. If you don't want to make those changes every time when you want to edit a video, you can just save those. But before we do this, let me just uncheck anti-aliasing, because we don't need this for videos. And now go to File, Save As. And then you can just save it as video preset, and then click on Save as Blend File. So now, if you close Blender and you open it again, maybe for a different video, you can just go to File, Open, and open your video preset. And now you don't have to make all those adjustments again. Okay, so now let's add our time-lapse. Let's go to Add, Image, and then choose the folder where your images are stored. Mine are here. And now you can select either several single images by left-clicking and hold Shift, or you could just click and drag, and this will always add new images to your selection, and you don't have to hold or press anything. Or you can just press A, and this will either deselect everything or select everything. So just click A and then go to Add Image Strip. And that's it, there's our time-lapse. So here you see already a little preview, and let's zoom in a bit by turning our mouse wheel. And we could also adjust those windows a bit. And now you should set up your resolution, and this should be the final resolution of your video. And it should match exactly the resolution of your images or your videos. If you don't do this, your final video will get stretched. Let's just reset this. And this slider below determines how much of this resolution will be used. So you see, if I move this to the left, you see now it only uses 3% of this resolution, and usually we want to have 100. And now I want to change the frame rate. And you should do this at the beginning because this will affect your whole video. So I choose 25 frames per second. Okay, so down here you can also zoom in and out by turning your mouse wheel. You can also change the position of your video by clicking somewhere, and now you always see a different position in the preview. You can also click and drag, and then you see the movement. And of course you can also just click on play, and it will play your time-lapse. But since those are really single images, it runs a bit slow. And those little segments in the background, they have always an interval of 1 second. So you can use those to roughly measure the time. And the green line has an indicator, and this means 5 seconds plus 17 frames. So you have to read this as seconds and frames. And remember, we have set up our frame rate with 25 frames per second, so 1 second is equally to 25 frames. So if we go a bit further, you see now we have 5 seconds plus 24 frames. So if we go just 1 frame further, and you see now it changes to 6 seconds, because 1 second is equally to 25 frames. To move around, click and hold your middle mouse button. So now you can move around. And now let me show you some basics. To move your video strip, you can just right-click those to select and then press G for grab. And if you do this, the video strip will follow your cursor and you can place it anywhere you want. If you want to reset this, you can right-click and it will jump to the previous position. And to move it, just G for grab and put it somewhere else and left-click. If you want to undo something, press Ctrl Z. To change the length of your video, you can use the arrows at the beginning or in the end. So right click and then either move in to make it shorter, or you could also move it out, but then you see the video goes only up to this point. And after this, it will only show you the last frame. So let's look at this. There's the video, and at this point you see only the last frame. So let's undo this, Ctrl+Z. You can also duplicate every strip by pressing Shift+D for duplicate. And now you have the same video again and you can place it somewhere else. While moving a video strip, you can see those numbers at the beginning and in the end, and they indicate the start and end frame of the video strip. And you can use those to align your videos. And you see the end frame of my first video strip is 211. So you should place the start frame of your next video strip at the frame 212, because that's the next frame. And now they match up. To delete something, press Delete and then click on Erase Strips. To cut your videos, select your video, right-click, and then set up the position where you want to cut it, and go to Strip, Cut, Soft. The shortcut is K. So now you see it separated those videos, and we can just select this, press G, and place it somewhere else. And what's important about this soft cut, it actually didn't really make a cut, it rather duplicated those and separated them. So the information is not lost. We can drag this out and we will get all this part of the video back. So you can also do this here, drag it out, and you see we get all the information back. And let's look in the background. You see we have those layers here, and every time you move something, your video strips will always fit in one of those layers. And a video that's above another one, that will be shown. So you see, if I place this one over the other video, now we only see the uppermost video in the preview. Okay, let's delete this. Press Delete and Erase Strips. But maybe you only want to edit normal videos, or you want to combine your time-lapse with a normal video. So let me show you how you can do this. And I will do this by just drag and drop it. So there's a video. Just click and drag it into this area. So there it is. Let's just maximize the window again. And let's play this. You see the video and you can also hear the sound of the video. The blue strip indicates a video and the green one is the audio track to this video. And it's actually usually above it, but it doesn't really matter. But I could actually just put it up here, press G for grab, move it up here and align it. But you have to be careful that you don't move it somewhere else, because then the audio and the video won't match up anymore. So undo this, Ctrl+Z. If you add a real video, you have to make sure that you set up the frame rate according to your video. So this video has a frame rate of 25 frames per second, and you can check this by just right-clicking your video, go to Properties, Details, and there you see the frame rate. And this has to match up with the frame rate in Blender. If you don't do this, let's say if you choose a different frame rate, then you see that your audio and video won't match up anymore, because those 25 frames per second mean every second you see 25 frames on your screen. If you change this to a frame rate of 30, it will show you 30 frames every second, but the total amount of frames of your video is still the same. So your video will now run faster as your audio track. And that's why you have to keep in mind always to set up the correct frame rate. If you want to change the length of both of those simultaneously, you can right-click on this arrow, hold Shift and right-click on the second one, and now press G, and now we can move both of those, but just at the beginning. And of course you can also, if you select this, hold Shift, select this, press G for grab, you can move both simultaneously. And you can also cut those. So again, make sure that both are selected. Select this, and the shortcut for cut is K, press K, and now they are separated and we can move those around. So let's look at our little creation. So our video would now look like this if we go through here, and at this point you see the transition to the other video. So that's how you can add normal videos. You just have to be careful that the audio and video match up. But for now, let me delete this, hold Shift to select all of those, hit delete and erase strips. And now I want to add another time lapse. Go to Add, Image, and this time I choose this one. Just press A to select everything and add image strip. And now we have this one and I want to move it over here. Just press G, and to align those perfectly next to each other, you can also just go over it. Then it will be shown in red because they intersect, but if you now left click, they align perfectly next to each other. And you see, now we have this cut here. If you look closely, you see there is this dark gray area in the background. And our second time lapse runs directly into it, but the gray area won't be a part of our video. So we have to adjust this by going to Start and End Frame. The start frame is this one, that's where our video starts, and the end frame is this one. And to change those, just type in a number, or you can just drag and make it larger. Let's zoom out, move over here by pressing our mouse wheel. So just roughly for now. And now we have our two video strips. But maybe you don't want just this cut. Maybe you want to have some blending effects. So let me show you some. But for this you have to put your videos over each other. And actually, since I made it shorter in the beginning, I will drag it out again. So you see we get those information back. So to determine the length of our transition, you can use those indicators in the background. Remember, they're always 1 second. And let's just choose maybe 3 seconds or about 3 seconds. So we want to make a transition from this video into this video. And therefore we have to select those in the correct order. So let's at first select this one, hold Shift, and then select this one. The order is very important. Then go to Add, Effect Strip, and now you can choose one of those blending modes. So for example, Add. This will just add your images. And you see it will blend those into each other, but you don't get a smooth transition. It only adds the images at the point where they are overlapping. So let's right click and remove this. And again, select it first this one, then hold Shift, select this one, go to Add and try another one. And very common is cross. This will blend your videos from one into the other one. But there's actually a better option for this, and that's what I usually use. So let's select this, delete, erase strips, and again select this one at first, now this one, Add, Effect Strip, and then choose Gamma Cross. So if you look at this, you might think it's the same, but Gamma Cross will keep the brighter parts longer in your video. And this looks a bit better in my opinion. So I would always recommend to use Gamma Cross if you want to use this effect. Okay, let's delete this. And again, select this one and then this one. Try another one. You could also use Wipe. And this will give you this transition. And you can actually change the transition type. If you select this one, you can go into this menu. And here you can make the edge a bit smoother. And now you see we get a nice and smooth transition. And you could also change the angle to make it a bit more interesting. So this will give us this effect. And you can change the transition type, but let me actually reset the angle to 0. And now change the transition type, for example, to clock. This will look like this, or iris, or double. This will give you this result. And you can also change the direction, make it from out to in, and you see how this affects our strip. And this will also affect all other transition types. So that's also a nice option to make some different transition between your videos. And a last very common transition type is to fade from one video into black and then into the other video. And we can do this also, but for this, let's select this one, press G to move it over here, so they align perfectly next to each other. And now we want to go to Add, Effect Strip, and choose Color. So this will give you this strip. And it just shows a single color, and we can change it by going over here, click on the color, and if you make it brighter you can change it into every color you want, but I will use black. And now we want to adjust the length of our transition, and for this let's scroll up and adjust the length. And remember your frame rate. So now the length is 25 frames, which means it takes 1 second. But I want the transition to be 2 seconds, so I choose 50. And now we can just press G to move it and place it roughly over those two. And now you have to think again how you want your transition to be. So we want to blend from this video into black, and from black into this video. So select it first, this one, and then Shift and select black, and now we just use Gamma Cross. Add Effect, Gamma Cross. And you see it fades from the video into black. And now we want to fade from black into this video, so let's select black at first and then the video. Go to Add, Effect Strip, and again Gamma Cross. And now it fades from black into the other video. So let's look at everything. Now we have a nice transition. But if you look closely, turning our mouse wheel, press mouse wheel to move around, and you see this little number indicates how long this transition is in frames. And you see the first one has 27 frames and the second one only 23 frames. So this one is longer as this one. And to match those up, we can just click on our black strip, press G to move, and if we now move it, we can perfectly adjust those two. So align those so that both have 25 frames. So now they perfectly match up. And there are also some other effects which you can apply only to one strip. So let's go over here, select this one, and for example you could also use glow. And this is a kind of HDR, or also known as bloom effect. And it will give you this kind of dreamy result. And you can also adjust this by going over here. You can adjust the threshold or the boost factor. So that's also a very nice effect. But you see it runs very slow. So you might want to add this if you are almost finished with editing. Okay, let's remove this, delete, and erase strips. So that's it for part A, and in the next I will show you some more ways to edit your videos, how you can add and edit music, text, and how you can compile everything into your final video.